Scary fables.
She moved in, but she was already dead. I didn't notice her at first. It was a cold Thursday morning when I saw the U-Haul truck outside the apartment across the hall. A woman in her late 20s, pale with dark hair tied in a loose braid, was carrying boxes inside alone. I offered to help, but she didn't respond, just stared at me with dark, tired eyes before turning back into the apartment. I remember thinking her eyes looked bruised, like she hadn't slept in days. That night, I heard her crying. Thin walls. This place always felt like it was made of paper, but her crying was different. Low, hopeless sobbing that echoed in the hall. The next morning, I knocked on her door with a cup of instant coffee, hoping to check on her. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open, calling out softly. The apartment was empty. Boxes were stacked neatly, but there was no furniture, no personal belongings, no sign of anyone living there. I stepped inside, the air cold and still, smelling faintly of wet earth. I set the coffee on a box and backed out, telling myself she had stepped out for a moment. That night, I heard the crying again. I pressed my ear against the wall, and the sobbing grew louder, closer, until I could hear whispering between sobs, a single word repeated over and over. Cold, cold, cold. I slept with the light on, clutching the blanket like a child, my heart pounding every time the whispering rose above the sobs. The next day, I saw her in the hallway. She was standing in front of her door, staring at me. Her eyes looked wrong in the daylight. Gray, almost colorless, and there was dirt under her fingernails. Her skin was pale, lips cracked, and her hair hung wet against her cheeks as if she had just come in from the rain, but it was dry outside. "Hi," I managed to say, my voice trembling. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. She turned, opening her door, disappearing inside without a sound. That night, I heard the crying again, but this time it was outside my door. When I peeked through the peephole, she was there, standing barefoot in the hallway, her head down, hair hanging in front of her face, sobbing so hard her shoulders shook. She lifted her head slowly, and for a moment, I saw her eyes, milky white, rolling back in her head as her mouth opened wide, the sobs turning into a choking scream. I fell back, scrambling away from the door, the scream cutting off into silence. The next morning, her door was open. I called the landlord, demanding he check on her. He stared at me like I was insane. "That apartment is empty," he said. "No one has lived there for months." I insisted, dragging him to the door. The boxes were gone. The apartment was completely bare, layers of dust on the floor, the air heavy and stale. I could see marks on the floor where boxes once were, faint footprints leading to the corner where I had left the coffee, but the cup was gone. That night, I tried to sleep, telling myself it was stress, loneliness, that I was seeing things. At 3:13 a.m., I woke up to the sound of something scratching at my door. Slow, dragging scratches, like fingernails on wood. I held my breath, listening. The scratching stopped, replaced by soft crying, right outside. Then I heard her voice, whispering, so close I could feel it against my ear even though I was across the room. "Let me in." I stayed frozen until dawn, listening to her cry, whisper, and scratch. When I finally opened the door, there was nothing but faint muddy footprints on the hallway floor, leading back to her empty apartment. I decided to leave. I packed my bags, ready to run, but before I could, there was a knock on my door. I opened it without thinking. She was standing there, dripping wet, mud caked on her skin, her eyes sunken and empty. Her mouth opened, water spilling out as she whispered, "I'm so cold." She stepped forward, and I stumbled back, falling against the floor as she moved closer, the air freezing around her. Her hand reached for me, skin gray and bloated, water dripping onto the floorboards. "I moved in," she whispered again, "but I was already dead." Her hand touched my cheek, ice cold, and in that moment, I saw what she saw. Darkness, water pressing in, mud filling my mouth, pulling me down into the black as I screamed, feeling the weight of the water above me, cold and endless. I woke up gasping, lying on my floor, the air thick with the scent of wet earth. My clothes were soaked, mud smeared across my skin, my hair dripping. I crawled to the door, pulling myself up, and looked into the mirror on the wall. She was standing behind me, her pale hand resting on my shoulder, her white eyes staring into mine. Now, every night, I hear her whispering, crying, scratching until the walls feel like they're closing in. When I try to leave, the door won't open, the windows won't break. The lights flicker, and I see her reflection everywhere, behind me, beside me, in the corner of the room, her hand reaching for mine. She moved in, and now she won't leave. And every night, as she whispers in my ear, I realize I can't leave either.
Another scary fable told, another night survived. For daily eerie stories and unsettling fables, like, subscribe and turn on your notifications so you'll be ready for tomorrow's tale.